2 million fish here along the Chesapeake Bay.
Thousands of birds dead in the bottom of the sky.
Surf's up, you sunburned scaries, beachcombers of all things blood-curdling, and lifeguards of the living dead. Welcome to the podcast Compels You, the podcast where we bask in the ever-watchfulness of our most gracious and bodacious AI mastermind, who compels us to dive deep into whatever horror movies happen to wash up on our thematic shores. So grab your sunscreen and your sense of adventure, and a good dose of penicillin, and catch a wave with us because this episode we're doing box office bombs on the beach. Hi, I'm Stacy, and I'm a horror movie addict. This is where everyone says, hi, Stacy.
Hi, Stacy.
I'm here with my co-host, Bill. How are you tonight, Bill?
I am honestly a little bit exhausted. It's a rough day at work, but you know what? This is my upper, and it's already starting to work. So that's the purpose of this podcast. It gives me a little jolt. So we're doing well over here. How about yourself?
Honestly, same. I was very exhausted right before we got started, and now I'm feeling the buzz. Last episode, we talked about Apostle. I said that I was making a retraction. So I was later informed that what I actually made was a correction. The retraction is just when you take something back. So I made a correction. So I'm making a correction this time to correct that my retraction was actually a correction. And I have another correction. This may be an overcorrection. Last episode, we said In a Violent Nature may have been an A24 movie, but we weren't sure. It is, however, distributed by Shudder. So just wanted to clear the air on that.
I'll take the hit on that one. I believe that was my comment. So -1 for me.
I think we hedged, a little.
Yeah.
It's just, in the interest of journalistic integrity.
Fair enough.
Have you seen any good movies lately?
I'm going to be honest. I have been pretty deep into the NHL playoffs. I only watch one sport, and we are in the happiest time of year for it. And one of your teams is still in it, actually, one of your Texas teams. So you should be very excited.
I do not have a team.
Well, they have you, apparently.
I do not own this state. They don't own me.
That's fair.
I'm getting out as soon as I can.
A lot of hockey, but I did the other night actually revisit Pet Sematary, the original, which I have not seen in way too long, and it was so nice. The guy who plays, who's the old man? I can't think of his character name or the actor's name, but he is so amazing. I cannot take my eyes off him when he's on the screen. The guy with the real low voice, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I also don't remember the name. That was a pretty decently scary movie, though.
Yeah, I watched it when I was a kid last, and I don't think I understood it, but it scared the crap out of me. Now I understand it, and it's still pretty scary, I gotta say. I read the book recently. That made me want to watch the movie because I always like to see side by side, how they compare. And yeah, it definitely held up. It makes me want to watch the remake. That was a 2019, I want to say. Did you see the remake?
It was disappointing to me. Yeah, I wasn't really into it.
That's a shame because I really love John Lithgow. I mean, he's absolutely fantastic normally. That is the only movie that I can think of that I saw. How about you? What have you been watching?
As promised, I watched Psycho, the original from 1916, not the weird scene-by-scene literal reshoot.
By Gus Van Sant?
I saw it at the Alamo Drafthouse, and it was the first time that I've seen it since middle school. I remember because we learned about Hitchcock in school for some reason, and then I wanted to see all the movies. At that time, we had cable TV with Showtime, so when I saw this movie, I had absolutely no idea how risque it was for the time. Yep. I just took all that for granted. I mean, it starts off with an unmarried couple in bed post-coitus, and Janet Leigh is in her underthings. I mean, this is a time when married couples were shown sleeping in separate beds in the movies, just to avoid even the appearance of anything unsavory. So that was interesting.
Did you know that was the first movie that has shown a toilet
I'm so glad you said that because that is
Okay.
not quite accurate.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
I decided to look into that fun
Uh-huh.
fact a little more. And as it turns out, Psycho was actually the first movie to show a toilet on screen in focus while flushing. So another movie had
Oh,
shown a toilet, and then another movie, you could hear toilet flushing before this, but the flush itself was instrumental to the plot. So like
right.
we are focused on the bowl, and that was just like really scandalous.
Mm-hmm.
So then I kind of went down a rabbit hole, and this is really like one of the coolest things about Hitchcock, that he was constantly challenging the illegitimate authority of the motion picture production code. The toilet is just like one of many statements against the code, the Hays Code, which is a whole other like extremely interesting topic that I encourage everyone to read about. It will change the way that you view the entire history of American film. But like TLDR, the Catholic Church manipulated its way into a position of power of sorts over Hollywood from like 1934 to 1966. So this code has nothing to do with government. It was all about like, let's see how we can extra governmentally legislate morality. And we still have the legacy of that in the MPAA rating system. So, stick it to
Which is
them every
insane
chance you
and
get.
based on nothing. It's just like
Yeah. And
it's like it's cloaked under behind secrecy, and no one knows what the criteria is. And
that whole legacy of secrecy.
Mhm.
Anyway, new movie. I saw the TV Glow,
And
and I did enjoy it. I'm going to try really hard not to spoil anything because I think you just have to experience it. But I will say, I think it's accurate to describe it as more of an experience than a story.
Hmm.
And it is quite an experience. It takes like the 90s, like kind of day glow aesthetic, and also the extremely weird vibe of actual children's low budget TV programming from that era. Like think about like the Power Rangers,
oh, sure.
kind of like that. So it takes that stuff and it turns it into something truly horrifying, like very angsty, perfect backdrop for us to contemplate our existential dread along with the protagonist. And I purposely didn't read anything about this movie ahead of time. Afterward, I did read some interviews with the writer director, and that confirmed my feeling that this movie was very much a metaphor for the trans experience. But the subject matter is certainly like universal, something that any of us should be able to connect with, especially adults. I think especially adults like, 20 and up.
Okay.
The older you are, probably like the more this movie is going to make you like ruminate.
Cool.
But I definitely recommend it. It's so different than anything else that's being made right now.
Is it scary?
It is existentially terrifying.
Okay. To me, that's like one of the worst.
That's it. Yeah,
Like,
that's it. It really gets in your head.
hmm
And it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna try hard not to spoil anything. It's kind of like the whole plot like builds up to this one thought experiment that is just kind of terrifying. Once it's in
Okay.
your head, it'll be stuck there.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely recommend.
Awesome. You seem like you've been on a pretty good run of new movies, I gotta say, these last few weeks.
It's 2024. It's a banner year for horror movies. So
Just gets
great.
better and better.
It's definitely great for this podcast.
Yes.
Speaking of which,
I suppose it's time for me to reveal our categories for this new 2 week series. So, this week's film kicks off our new pairing entitled Box Office Bombs on the Beach, which are movies that are set around a beach and that flopped either at the box office or from a critical perspective. We had to kind of put that in there because some of these don't necessarily have a box office. Some are, straight to streaming, straight to video. So, there's really got to kind of adjust criteria based on that. So we grabbed our fishing poles, cast out our lines, and after a week of practicing catch and release, we finally hooked the perfect films. Tonight's feature is the 2012 found footage film The Bay, directed by Rain Man director Barry Levinson, co-written by Michael Wallich, and starring Will Rogers, Kristen Connolly, Keith Donahue, and Frank Deal. Also of note, this movie was produced by Jason Blum, following the found footage success of the first 4 Paranormal Activity movies that he also produced, so he knows a thing or two about found footage. Taking place primarily on July 4th, this film follows a cute little gang of sea lice while they try to fit in the quaint town of Claridge, located on the shores of Chesapeake Bay. Through a dizzying array of various cameras, web blogs, and Zoom calls, we witness their attempts to seek shelter inside the organs of July 4th revelers while feeding on steroid-filled chicken shit to grow big and strong. Will they be accepted by this sleepy coastal town? Or will their powerful yet inept web of government agencies thwart their plans? Stay tuned to find out. Stacy, had you seen this film before?
I had not. And this is our first episode in which I had not before at any time in my life seen the movie prior to preparing for the episode. So it's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
So it's also my first time to be able to name 3 things I expected to find in the movie. So let's see how I do. 3 things I expected to see in the movie. Keeping in mind, I just read the very short IMDb synopsis beforehand. A clueless or negligent government/EPA employee. Pretty close on that, I think. A shaky cam scene that ends because the camera or camera person is damaged or destroyed. And that's
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
A person being cornered on a dock or pier where the water is the only way out. That was a miss.
I felt like it could have been, but then, yeah, it didn't turn out that way.
Maybe it was edited out.
Those are good.
How are you feeling about some fun facts right now?
I'm into it.
All right. First of all, Kristen Connolly, who plays Stephanie in the movie, was the protagonist Dana in 2012's The Cabin in the Woods, which overtook this movie at the box office.
I didn't realize they were so close together. She must have been filming these about the same time.
She was like having her season.
Yeah.
So besides horror, the other thing that I like is Star Trek. There, I admitted it. So it is with a glee of the worlds colliding that I bring you this fun fact. Heather Donahue, who stars as the reporter Donna in this movie, plays an occasional very fun role as a kind of sentient robot called an exocomp on one of my favorite shows, the animated Star Trek Lower Decks. The character gave herself the name Peanut Hamper because after analyzing all Federation languages, she determined it was a mathematically perfect name. Great show, great character.
I didn't know there was an animated Star Trek series. That's interesting.
There's more than one, but that's the funny one.
Okay.
There's also the old Star Trek, the animated series, and there's also a recent kids Star Trek series that I can't remember the name of right now. This movie was the writer Michael Wallach's only credited movie. This was Barry Levinson's only horror movie, but he had made so many other movies. Like, he had been making blockbusters for decades. So I asked myself, why did he want to do this relatively low budget eco horror found footage picture?
Seemed a little random, huh?
The honest answer is he didn't mean to do it. He was asked to produce a documentary about real pollution problems in the Chesapeake Bay up in the mid-Atlantic. And he got to work on this up until he realized he had gotten scooped by Frontline, the PBS show. Those bastards. Levinson had already done a bunch of research. So what did he do? He pivoted, as one does, and turned it into a horror movie. I honestly wish more people would take the lemons that life gives you and turn it into horror movies. But anyway, Levinson has said that the distributor Lionsgate did not care about the movie because it was not a true horror movie with the formula of like Saw. So, it's kind of admirable that he took this on. He also boasted, and I didn't fact check this because how could you? But he boasted the movie was about 80% factual information. And I guess it was about 20% giant isopods. I wanted to check back with this number after watching it to see if I could make a funnier breakdown, but I can't. Maybe 10% giant isopods and 10% showcase of communication technology at that time, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Fun fact, they cast a lot of unknown actors to make the found footage more believable, which might explain some of the not so great acting.
Is that just an excuse because they couldn't get better actors? You gotta wonder.
I don't think so. I think supposedly it was a choice. Who knows?
Okay. Yeah.
You know how they spin these things.
That's fair.
Along with Jason Blum, Did you mention Oren Peli, another producer from Paranormal Activity? No doubt they were gambling on the success of the 2007 found footage horror movie. Alas, it wasn't to be. This was sometime before Blum perfected a formula and Blumhouse became the giant money minting machine of a production company it is today. Also, to be fair to this movie, it was released the same year as Prometheus, Sinister, Cabin in the Woods, The Woman in Black, and new sequels for Paranormal Activity and Resident Evil. It sounds like 2012 was that decade's 2024.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, we also have a new Alien movie coming out, which I'm pretty excited about. The scary trailer. It's the one trailer that I don't get tired of seeing. I got tired of seeing the new Strangers trailer. I'm tired of seeing A Quiet Place, whatever number we're on.
What about Beetlejuice, though? Come on, you don't get sick of that
one,
do you?
I only got to see that once. I don't know where it went, but they haven't been playing it at the
They
theater.
just dropped a new one, or at least new to me, that I just saw today. So it's pretty great.
I'm like, I have a secret fear that this means they're not going to show it at my Alamo Draft House, which would be devastating because I absolutely won't go to any other theaters.
Wow, you are firm in your convictions.
I'm very picky, and I like to sit like in the same seat, and I buy an extra seat so no one can sit next to me. And
wow,
I can't stand when anyone talks or uses their phone. So the Alamo is the place for me.
Cool.
And it's comfortable. The seats are comfortable. Nice to have a table, stuff to drink, stuff to eat. So yeah, I'm excited about Alien.
Did we talk about the floppiness of this movie?
Oh yeah, let's see. I have a figure for you. The production budget was $2 million, and the Bay's worldwide lifetime total gross was $1,581,252. I wonder what those last $2 were.
That was very precise. Mine just said 1.6 million, but I like yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Had you seen this movie before? I feel like you hadn't.
I have definitely not. This is yet another one where I've passed over it a million times on a streaming service. I saw the front, it looked kind of interesting, and then I read a brief synopsis and I'm like, not for me. Anytime I see found footage, I'm just going to admit right at the top of this, I am not a big fan of found footage movies.
Same.
But I am open-minded to finding one that's going to blow my mind. So I am
same.
I want to be blown away by a found footage movie. So did this one do it? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe a future one will. We'll find out.
Are we hiding the ball?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll play along. So content warnings. I think the standard content warning that any horror podcast might have. It's in the show notes. Also, just off the top of my head, lots of dead fish, some dead birds, lots of like mutilated looking fish and gross fish stuff, which I think fish are gross. I'm not like aquarium fish, but like fishing fish. I mean, so it was super gross for me. There's also body horror related to disease, a whole lot of that, and one on-screen suicide.
Yes. I think that's
I don't think that's a spoiler.
No. I think you covered it. Yeah, I think you got most of
It's not a very
those.
important suicide, as suicides go,
Yeah, I think that covers all of those.
Dark Fact.
Today's dark fact is one that I actually fished right out of the D+ rated waters of Chesapeake Bay.
Nice.
And I learned that in the 1960s, the Chesapeake Bay oyster industry collapsed, leading to the introduction of Gulf of Mexico oysters to replenish stocks. Unfortunately, these oysters carried a parasitic barnacle called, I'm going to butcher this, Loxothylacus panapi, also called loxo, which infects crabs. So a female loxo invades a crab, takes over its nervous system, and embeds a sac under its abdomen. A male loxo then fertilizes the sac, rendering the crab infertile and turning it into a caretaker for the parasite's offspring.
Oh.
This creates what are called zombie crabs that produce thousands of parasitic larvae approximately every 10 days, and the crabs only survive about 45 days total. And it's thought that about 90% of all mud crabs in the Chesapeake Bay are affected by these parasites. And the best part about this is this quote that I found from a scientist at the Smithsonian Environmental Research Center who said, Loxo turns crabs into zombies and sex slaves. Zombies and sex slaves. I'm just going to say that again as a, I don't know if that needs to be the title of a horror movie or like a genre of horror movies or
tagline for our entire podcast.
or that. Maybe that's what we're looking at.
I just find it terrifying that there can be any species on Earth that can actually be made into a zombie, because that means if we survive long enough, one day it's going to be us.
I didn't even
that's
think of
just
that.
how evolution works.
Oh, God.
Giant isopods are just the beginning.
What you had said earlier about how the director came to direct this movie, it makes total sense the more you read about like Chesapeake Bay. Like, it's a bit of a shit show there. Like, I knew nothing about Chesapeake Bay, but like, yeah, it's not really this film sensationalizes it a little bit, but there's a lot there. Sadly. So I thought that was a pretty interesting fact. And yeah, I don't think I'll be visiting there anytime soon.
Nor
How about
I.
you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with the movie.
Okay.
I'm not really a waterfront person, to be honest.
No, you're landlocked.
Just when you think it's safe to go back into the water. Like that's always in my mind.
That's fair. You can't drown if you don't go in the water.
So true.
So we are going to take a brief intermission and we will be right back with our spoilerific plot discussion. So stick around. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hand it back to Stacy, who's going to go through our spoilerific plot discussion. Go for it, Stacy.
I accept the baton. We kick things off with a montage of fake news, which didn't mean the same thing back then, about dead fish and birds washed up in the Chesapeake Bay. There's like news from all over the world in different languages. They're all like talking over each other. Kind of annoying audio editing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like an environmental horror starter pack. Right there. There's a note that the events to follow were never made public. So it's one of those things. Time to tell the stories the townspeople cannot tell themselves. Enter one Donna Thompson, a journalist haunted by the past, finally breaking her silence about all the messed up shit that went down on July 4th, 2009. All this footage that we're going to see is about to be released on some government leaks website because Donna can't have a proper character arc until everyone hears her story, okay? So everyone, please just give her a moment of your time. This is very hard to talk about, okay?
Yeah.
Flashback to Donna's sunny childhood memories in this now doomed town. So she's got that emotional connection to the story. She's not just some, big city reporter.
Did she live in this town?
She only went there for the summer, so she's probably just some privileged, like, I don't know, where do the privileged kids come from around Maryland? Baltimore? No.
Yeah, sure. Or
right?
Connecticut.
Connecticut sounds very right for
it's a little far, but yeah, it's probably kind of that area.
I mean, what's gas money when you're Connecticutan? What are they called? Connecticutationists.
Connecticutan. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's there.
So nobody cares. Even even the mayor used to be, an honest working man. This is a real American small town summer vibes. He was like some old vacuum cleaner sales dude or something. I don't remember. But how quaint,
This whole town, I love this town. This is one of the shining points for this movie. I feel like they painted such a good, accurate picture of what I think a coastal town would look like.
Yes, and you have to appreciate that there was some like mild, subtle comic relief, like Miss Crustacean.
Oh my God, that's my favorite.
Oh my God, it's Miss Crustacean herself. How gross.
What kind of bright future awaits the winner of Miss Crustacean? I can't even imagine. Sky's the limit.
Allergy. That's what it is. And there's a crab eating contest. Super gross. Okay, I just think eating contests are gross anyway. Like, why would you, when there's hunger in the world, why would you make a sport out of that? And you're just like being evil to your body. I don't know. I don't get it.
Oh, no, it's weird.
But when I saw that, I knew, I swear, that there was going to be copious vomiting later.
I have stuff to say about that when we get
An
there.
eating contest in a horror movie, that is too easy not to be foreshadowing. I'm like, I'm
Yes.
already grossed out and nothing has even happened yet. Can you tell?
Especially when it involves seafood. Just, yeah.
Oh, like my stomach just aches thinking about that.
Yes.
So, cut to the heavy industry shadows over the town, a very necessary element. A massive chicken farm, looks more like a chicken prison. Sad.
Mhm.
Poor chickens. Donna's got her eyes on the mayor, blaming him for this industrial slash ecological nightmare about to unfold. So we got the crooked mayor trope.
Mhm.
First signs of trouble were actually due in a few weeks before the events of this movie. There's two oceanographers that we keep seeing during the movie, but it's confusing because they're dead by the time the movie starts. So these are like flashbacks, but it's all mixed up together. But at this point, they mentioned that like these two mangled bodies washed up or turned up dead in the water. Folks were talking about like shark attacks, but that didn't sound right to the people that were actually from there. They're like, that doesn't happen here. There's mention of some accusations against the chicken industry for dumping literal chicken shit in the bay. We are treated to a bunch of footage of the chicken shit, like way too much.
Mounds of it.
Piled there underwater. Like
Yes.
footage goes on and on and on. I'm like, is
Yes.
this actual footage? Nice. But how is this puzzle ever going to be pieced together? I don't know. There's a lot going on, you know.
Mhm.
Oh, another puzzle piece, important to note. The town has a desalination plant that supposedly, I thought this was impossible. I'm pretty sure like in 6th grade we learned that was not a feasible like large scale plan. I guess by now it is.
In terms of like takes too much energy to.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it supposedly cleans the water the town uses. Big emphasis on supposedly, because
Mhm.
just when you think it's safe to go back in the water, I'm so sorry, I had to get that in there. Chaos erupts, and it's really unclear what the chaos is at
Yes.
first. Like suddenly people are just screaming, there's kids freaking out in the pool. Nobody's helping this woman who's just wailing in the background, walking around bloody, like everyone's just like awkward. I'm kind of embarrassed for her. Like, why is everyone ignoring her?
You mean this woman that's in my backdrop?
That woman that you have in your background for inspiration right now. Yes.
Who I'm hiding behind me?
Yeah. I just thought she was a great character. It was a creepy moment to have her like walking around like soaked in blood and everyone's just like minding my own business.
I mean, would you run up to
Do.
this woman? What would you do?
I probably would before I knew there was a plague going on. I would
Hmm.
probably try to be a good citizen.
Oh, that's nice of you.
But who knows?
Yeah.
Next, we've got a horror show at the Crab Feast. Contestants are hurling up their guts. There's so much vomiting. Oh my God. Maybe this should have gone into content warning.
Well, you got to ask, like, how much vomiting at a crab eating contest is acceptable before you become concerned?
Well, you get disqualified immediately.
But like, how do you know there's actually a problem? I mean, you would assume people are just going to be vomiting from overeating crab anyway. So, like, at what point does it actually become a
think
problem?
When it's
You
more
know?
than two people at the same
Okay.
time.
Is that the
Yeah.
threshold?
It seemed to be what happened in the movie. Because then
Gotcha.
people started to, make freaked out noises.
Yeah.
Next, we get an important character, Dr. Jack Abrams, who is just, pure of heart and flawless. He steps up to bat, somehow treating 350 patients in a single day. Is that even possible?
I don't know. That seems a lot.
It's like 1 minute per patient.
I think this guy might have been maybe the best actor in this movie.
It looked like what he was doing like went on for weeks and weeks, while everyone else, it was just like a 1 day period.
Yeah, that's true.
Present day Donna tells us 350 patients in a single day, and then he bit the dust at nightfall. Was it really necessary to spoil that present day Donna?
Right.
I mean,
I know.
another weird thing is the guy is like filming patients. I guess it's necessary to make a
Right.
movie. We get to see their blisters and boils, lesions. But is this like okay with HIPAA? Did they have HIPAA in
I don't know.
2009?
I'm sure they did. These actresses are terrible. Like
So bad.
noticeably bad. Like I think there's
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 of them. And it just looks like they're reading lines like off to the side and just like
It's like
weird
their eyes are moving
inflection.
side to side.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think this is like bottom of the barrel casting, I think, for these couple roles here. But
But these dying people aren't going to film themselves.
True.
Are they? They are, aren't they? That's what most of the movie is, isn't it?
Yes.
Anyway, Dr. Abrams tries his best to get help from the CDC. That is important to the plot.
Yes.
Next, we meet a couple local cops who, come back a couple times. They find a body in a yard that kickstarts like a whole chain of these gruesome finds.
I thought this was really strange. So they pull up to the body, and the one guy goes, "Was he shot?"
I guess that's what they're expecting.
That's the conclusion you're jumping to? This is like a small town.
Right. I would have been like, does he have a heart attack?
Yeah,
Or,
did he have a heart attack? Or like, I don't know. I just thought that was really weird. Like, is crime really that rampant in this town? It just doesn't strike me as that kind
maybe
of.
they were hoping. They're like, are we going to get a real case this time?
Oh, maybe that's it. Like overexcited. Okay, that could be.
Yeah, they also didn't really seem like small town cops to me.
Yeah, that's true.
But except for like the sheriff. Also, then a woman is found and she's like gutted and she has no tongue. And everyone else is like tongue tied about what's going on. Ha, see what I did there?
That was good. Was that the
Thanks.
woman where the other woman calls into 911 and she's looking out her window and sees the woman?
I think so. I think and then they decided it's probably domestic violence.
Yes. That was actually kind of a creepy scene, I gotta say, like seeing the woman like through the window.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I don't know, that was kind of effective for me, I thought.
Like her guts coming out.
Yeah.
So yeah, people are bleeding out of their wherever. Haha. It's screaming. So much screaming. Are they screaming because they're bleeding, or are they also like in horrendous pain? We need to know these things.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have any experience with this type of condition, so I can't say.
I think it's both.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I sound like that when I got my like thumb like stuck in the door jamb. So
does that happen a lot?
It happened when I was 12, but it's very memorable. It's a core memory.
It's a core memory. Gotcha.
It's so important and integral to my persona.
Yeah.
Then we meet Jennifer, who's like the real hero of the movie. Jennifer is like I guess we would say like preteen, maybe?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Home alone because her parents fucking booked it out of Dodge without her. Like,
what was that all about? That did not make any sense to me.
Her parents just suck. That's what it is.
I guess it just seems so out of place. I don't know. That seems like a weird detail.
I wanted to like her, so I bought it. And then she's FaceTiming her condition to her friend, like blisters and all. I guess it's just blisters to start with. But it gets worse. It's thanks to Jennifer that we really get like a look of what's going around town in some places.
True. I thought she was kind of a creepy character. I don't know why. She kind of looked a little ghostly or something to me. That the little girl actress that played her. I don't know. It just
she's eerily calm. Like,
yeah, maybe that's what it is.
But you know what? Like, you never really get, unless you're in a disaster. Some people are really like that. Like,
true.
They discover this talent. And then I guess all of the trauma hits them later. But meantime, like they're the one, if she was an adult, she'd probably be the one helping everybody.
Yeah. Or you get the woman behind me who's just running around screaming. So there's two ends of the spectrum there.
We should have had Jennifer being Donna, because Donna did not have the stomach for it.
I agree. She would have been a much better Donna.
Yeah. Anyway, then we're with the scientist who I think this is the oceanographer guy. So this is 2 weeks or 3 weeks earlier, whenever. And he'd found an infected fish. So my ears perk up because this seems like it's going to be a clue.
Mm-hmm.
Sure enough, the fish has some parasite larvae, which is gross.
Yeah.
And it's also a little bit of a letdown. Like I thought it was going to be something scary. Something horrible is brewing in the water, obviously. Let's see some more horrible stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little slow to take off on that. It was a lot more like human and body horror before we got any like other horror.
True.
Then there's a note, a title card kind of thing. Like, we sent this footage to the mayor who never answered.
Mm-hmm.
So crooked mayor trope. While Rome burns, or at least while Rome blisters, bleeds, and vomits a lot. They interview the guy, and of course, he seems pretty useless, preoccupied with re-elections like every evil mayor in any movie ever. He warns people not to believe the rumors.
We all know that during warm weather, bacterial levels can rise, and because of that, sometimes there are those of us who pick up some kind of digestive problems, and sometimes rashes. It's unfortunate, but it's a fact of life here on the bay.
If you're going to be so sensitive about it, then stay out of the water today. Do you know a guy like this in your life? Because I've known a lot of them.
Oh, of course. And I think the whole thing is, and the whole through line is that They explain it away is because the temperatures are a bit higher. That's
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
and I think
Uh-huh.
that's even up till the very end of the movie.
The
That's
very
the whole
that was their cover-up story, but yeah, I'm
yes,
getting ahead.
which is
Um,
absurd.
so I think the mayor totally counts as one of my three things, the incompetent government
Yes,
employee.
absolutely.
Then we see this, it's getting exciting. See a giant isopod. Okay, I'd heard about giant isopods, and when it's not that giant. I guess it's
No.
giant for an isopod, but it's like shrimp sized. Okay. It's just like this black thing, and I guess it chomps down on the fisherman's arm, and that's, but like, come on.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm embarrassed to say this, but that jump scare got me.
Okay, the jump scare, yes. But then when I saw what it was, I was like, "Ugh,
It's
could
kind of
have
cute.
been
It kind of like
bigger?"
scuttled off the side of the boat and like just kind of
Yeah.
dove into the water.
I mean, these things definitely get bigger and scarier as the movie goes on, which
Yes.
is, that's one plus
Mhm.
of this plot.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like lots of actual rumors are actually going around. Like there's bioterror. It's
Al
what's
Qaeda.
it called? Al Qaeda. Thank you. I
Yep.
could not pull that out of my
Pesticides,
memory.
vaccines, all the buzzwords,
Yeah,
you know.
all the conspiracies.
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty realistic.
Hmm.
And then we're back with the French oceanographer again. Oh yeah, did I mention one of them's French? And she's very French, like French accent.
There's so many little things with each one of these, like especially Donna and these oceanographers, where they're trying to get things right. Like I think she repeats her lines a couple
Yes.
times, like, "Oh, did I say that? Did that sound good?" And then Donna is constantly like, "Did I do that right? Did that sound good? Oh, I don't know if I did." It gets a little annoying throughout the film, kind of.
Is that to make it like more realistic?
I think so. It's supposed to be like a character trait, like, like I'm
Kind of
as for
annoying.
Donna, she's kind of new to this and she's just not sure where her footing is. But I'm like, I don't really care about that.
I like the French oceanographer though. Like she could talk
Yes,
some more. I'll listen to that.
I agree. Yeah.
And I liked her chemistry with her, companion American oceanographer. Like they were kind of sibling like, a little bit quibbly. It was nice.
I agree.
I liked those actors. Anyway, the French oceanographer shows us a bunch of mutilated fish, and that's gross.
Yes.
And then we go to a couple of teens. I'm about to get another thing off my list. A couple of teens are like filming something with an old digital camera. It's like big, and something scary happens in the water. One of them gets in the water, and then she's like, "Ah, something's got me." And the guy's like, "Yeah, right. I don't believe you." But then it's real, and then he jumps in with the camera. So I count that as my shaky cam scene that ends in death and or destruction of the device because they never found the bodies. Totally counting that.
This bothered me. How did the camera survive in the water for 5 months in any capacity?
The answer is that was a lie.
I might be nitpicking a little bit here, but I don't know.
They're
That's
like-
a bit of a stretch.
This footage has some water damage,
Yeah,
and then
a
it
little
showed
bit
like
of water damage.
What is it? Actual tape? I mean, either
Yeah.
digital shit like either works or it doesn't. You don't
That's
get
true.
like water damage to the binary.
It's not like an old VHS tape where you get a little bit of like on the top. It's just a little,
Some
blurry.
of the O's and ones were washed away.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. A little nitpicky, but yeah.
Yeah. It's what we do. So back to St. Dr. Abrams. He keeps trying to get help from the CDC, who are pretty useless.
Wait, before we go on, did we introduce the young family on the boat yet? I think
might have skipped over them.
I think at this point, so there's a family. It's was it Kristen Connolly, whatever her husband's name is,
Stephanie and Alex, and then
the baby.
They've got a boat, and they're like on their way to meet Stephanie's parents.
I think they're going from like Wilmington to Claridge or something like that. So they're going to get there on the 4th of July to meet with.
Yeah, and they've got a nice
party,
a nice boat. Which they should have just stayed on.
We get the guy jumping in the water though, and he swallows water, which at the time, whatever. But of course, later on we find out more. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. So we're back to those oceanographers, and the one guy discovers the isopods. Finally, we get a little exposition on what these nasty critters are. They send a report to the mayor, who, surprise, surprise, does nothing. It's like a contest. Like, who is worse, the CDC or the mayor?
Yeah.
Right around the halfway mark, we get this montage of people and their disgusting symptoms. there's a guy with a hugely distended abdomen with something moving
Oh.
inside of it.
Oh, I
That's
don't like
kind of
that.
gross. I know.
Yeah.
And then our FaceTiming girl, Jennifer, shows us a crowded, I think, emergency room, like
Mhm.
full of desperate people.
Yeah.
And then there's one woman is like, is she banging her head on the glass?
It seemed a little over the top, but yeah, you could tell that
Yeah.
things were filling up and yeah, people were
Yeah.
getting
It's
worse and worse.
pretty awful. So at that time, Stephanie's mom calls and leaves a message, which we hear, and the screen says Stephanie never got the message. So she leaves a message about like the epidemic that's happening. Her dad is about to get his leg amputated, and the mom has lesions too. And she tells like it's kind of a sad message. She's like, "Don't get off the boat." But of course, Stephanie never gets the message because plot.
This scene was actually probably my favorite scene in the movie in terms of like being very effective because they have the voicemail playing and then they're showing clips of the family on the boat like carefree, like playing with their baby.
Yeah.
It just worked really well how they edited it. You feel really bad for them because you know what they're eventually going. The whole young family I liked. That whole storyline I enjoyed because they play it out through the course of the movie and we know what they're boating to, but they don't. I don't know. I just thought that
Yeah.
scene was very effective. And I think she ends with saying, "Don't get off the boat," which is like a very like ominous thing to say at the end of a message.
And we know she's right. Back at the CDC, they're all in like the room conferencing about indecipherable sciencey stuff. This is totally the part of the episode where Dr. House and his assistants are just throwing ideas around. It's early on. You know that whatever they come up with is going to be the wrong answer because there's too many minutes left.
This is also where you start seeing all these government agencies starting to just pass the buck, like saying that it's not under their jurisdiction, like they knew about this, but it's not something they're in charge of. You see this a lot in this movie. There's like, I want to say there's like 4 or 5 agencies or people that they talk to. And it's just like, yeah, we saw that, but that's not under our jurisdiction. And we didn't, we did our job. That seems to be a common theme throughout this movie, just kind of passing the buck.
Yeah. Now we're given a new piece of the puzzle. We've got isopods, we've got chicken shit. How do we get a problem? We need one more ingredient. Here it is. We're told there's a nuclear reactor leak that is
of course
heading into the base. So is it the isopods or is it the nuclear reactor leak or is it the chicken shit? But wait, is the nuclear reactor leak turning the isopods into supervillains? I'm voting for that option. Fingers crossed. Although, what does that have to do with chicken shit? I'm still confused about that.
As I understood it, I think it was a commentary on feeding chickens steroids because I think
that comes out later. You
okay.
It.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know. Sorry.
I'm
okay.
just kidding. No,
we'll
but at this
that.
point, at this point, I think we have no idea how shit is connected. I'm literally shit. How is it connected? Right.
Right.
Then, oh no, Donna's cameraman is getting ill, and she reveals that he died. Present day Donna says died that night, and a lot of this footage is thanks to him, and that's great.
Aww.
But also, he's kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
And then present day Donna tells us over footage of people in traffic. There's a bunch of people in cars on a bridge, and the bridge was shut down with no record of who shut it down. And Donna says, no one ever got off that bridge. So I'm like, wait, what? Did they all die? Are there skeletons still sitting in their cars?
Well, I think later they talk about that they quarantined the town and even I think they had to stay there. Something about they stayed there for 2 or 3 days on the bridge. I don't know how or what the mechanics of it were. Like if they quarantined the entire thing at some point, but yeah.
Now the most interesting storyline to me happens and it's only mentioned for a short time.
Ooh,
the
which
FBI is trying to shut down Donna's blogs. Donna's like a local reporter. How does the FBI get involved? This is such a giant cover up. But she resists. She's like Lady First Amendment. Go Donna.
Yeah.
And then filming by the now abandoned 4th of July fairground site that's on the water, of course. And she starts hearing this anguished screaming, but it's from all different directions. So is
that was kind of creepy.
The town is just dying and we're just hearing it all over the place?
I think so, yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that actually. Do you, on kind of a separate note, do you guys have the cicada problem down by you? Or is that not?
I think so. Are
Okay.
those the ones that like they leave their carcasses
Yep.
like stuck to the tree? Yeah, we
It's
have
the
those.
17-year cicada. So up here, they're just everywhere. Like everywhere you walk, there's cicadas. But like today, I heard this sound outside my house and it was in the distance and it was like this weird buzzing sound. And I think it was just an accumulation of all the cicadas. Like it's like a low hum. So I wonder if it was like that
Yeah.
in this town where all these people are in anguish. So you just kind of hear this like accumulation of all those voices in the distance, which is kind of creepy.
That's such a nice theory, but I really did think that I heard like individual humans like voicing
Yeah,
the sound. So it was kind of weird, you
it
know?
is weird.
It was a very weird moment. And also, I'd like to tell you about what a child genius I was.
Okay.
So, as kids do, like we play with these cicada carcasses, like
Mhm.
stick them on things. And, somebody told me that the whole thing about they stay underground for 17 years. And I'm like, that's a lie because I see them every year. So smart.
I think there's different cycles.
Yeah. Yeah. That did not occur to me until I was an adult.
Well, cicadas are just a weird thing, honestly.
So weird.
I was talking to a woman in California. She thought they didn't even exist. She didn't know that they were real, actually. So
Oh,
I don't know.
they sound like something mythological.
Oh,
Like
they're super weird. They look
their
weird. They
souls
act
abandon
weird.
their body. Yeah,
Yeah.
they look so weird when they're alive. Like they're kind of scary. I would never touch one when it's alive.
No, I agree. Are there any cicada horror movies? Because I'd really like to cover one of those if there is. Put it on our
Oh,
list.
we should ask the AI mastermind about
Yes,
that.
definitely.
Back to the police now. They arrive on the scene, shots fired inside the house. I'm not even sure why they're there. I kind of stopped paying attention for a moment, so I don't know why. But
I'm assuming they got a call to the
yeah,
house from someone.
one cop goes inside and one stays in the car. But then
Mhm.
we hear like shots fired, and then of course the partner who's in the car has to go in after the guy to investigate. It sounds like people are dying in the house. You can see people like begging for mercy killing. What
Yep.
and is in particular one guy with no tongue is, if you can imagine how that sounds, asking
Mhm.
like, please shoot me. That's pretty scary. And it's
I
also kind of,
agree.
we don't see what's happening in there. We just hear it, and the audio is like really well done for that moment.
I agree. I think they handled that scene very well.
And then we hear, is it is it one of the cops that does the second shooting? Because I can hear the partner saying like, Jim, no. But we never see anything in the house.
Yeah, I don't know if not sure.
So we'll get back to those guys though.
Oh yeah, we will.
More footage of a shit ton of dead fish, and that's it. And then
Yep.
there's oceanographers again. So we're back, flashing back a couple weeks,
Mhm.
and they go diving to try to learn more about the parasites. And I was already guessing this is going to be the scene when they die.
Mhm.
Pretty soon, my guess is confirmed.
Yep.
They are attacked, in fact, by the wild nuclear chicken shit-eating isopods. And that's the end.
I gotta say, underwater footage might be my least favorite framing device. It drives me crazy.
Did you see that one horror movie where like the whole haunted house was underwater?
Whole haunted house.
I
That's
can
not like
only
one of those
remember.
47 meters down. It wasn't one of those, was it?
I don't remember the title.
Yeah,
But
I don't think I've seen it.
they went scuba diving inside the haunted house, and I was like,
Okay.
this is kind of a cool concept. And then I fell
Oh,
asleep.
interesting.
So I have no idea whether I would have liked it or not.
Okay.
It was like one of those middle of the night, what's on Shutter kind of things.
Sure.
Yeah. So present day Donna again questions whether the authorities did not view the footage that was sent, or did they watch it and cover it up. I'm kind of like, Donna, you already said that. We're straight on that from the beginning. Then back in the footage, it's nighttime now. So I feel like we're getting close.
Mhm.
Donna is investigating what looks like a bar. And I think this is maybe where later the people on the boat dock. Does it kind of look like the
Yes,
same
I got
place?
that same
Maybe
impression.
that's where they were going to meet their family members. Yeah. Maybe we'll get there. But anyway,
Mhm.
the camera shows Donna investigating like what looks like in the nighttime a shiny black like patch of goo on the deck. And as she examines it, she looks up to see what it is that could be dripping from above. And then she like screams her fucking head off because it's
Yeah.
a dead woman with a bloody arm. I mean, okay, I agree that's alarming, but like considering the whole situation,
Yeah.
I think Donna really needs to be exercising some better coping skills right now if she wants to be a journalist and get the story out. Am I asking too much of her?
I'm not a fan of Donna, so I'm not going to comment. But well, why was this woman on the roof?
I don't know, but I like Donna's Star Trek character so much better. But anyway, for the amount that she was screaming, I would expect that. Like she saw an actual zombie or like a human-sized
Yes.
isopod or something scarier than that. Like someone walking around with no head because they're an isopod zombie. Would you agree, Bill?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to put myself in that position. I don't know what would freak me out, but probably all of this. I
Yeah.
don't know. But yeah, based on what she's already seen, that's just par for the course.
It's like I would never want to make this movie, so it's hard for me to figure out how I would make it better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's doomed from the
Yes.
beginning, but I'll talk more about that at the
Me
end.
too.
In the next scene, the CDC tells Dr. Abrams to pack up and go home. It's a miracle that he wasn't infected already. So this is where this movie kind of irks me. Like, I don't know
Mhm.
what the mood was in 2012, but like after living through COVID, I feel like this is an overly cynical depiction of the CDC, who are in fact medical professionals themselves.
Sure.
But anyway, for the sake of the movie, I get it. The government is an antagonist.
Yep.
Just overall, the FBI, everyone, and they are trying to show that Dr. Abrams is a hero, which they've already done above and beyond, which is
Yeah.
fine. So whatevs. Anyway, Dr. Abrams excoriates them as only Dr. Abrams can do. The real hero of the story, though, I think, is Jennifer with her iPhone. She's
That's
so
the creepy
brave.
teenage girl, right?
She's so brave, yeah, and she's I think she's doing her last FaceTime broadcast until the very end. It's just a
Yeah.
shame that FaceTime was not released until summer of 2010. This
I
was
saw
supposed to
that
take
fact.
place in 2009, but creative
Yeah.
license, I guess.
Sure.
Then we get some more the mayor. This is the scene where the mayor is scolding the sheriff and telling him to get his deputies together and get on top of the
Right.
situation. And the guy's like, "What deputies? No one is answering my calls."
Yeah.
Then we're back with Donna and she's super bloody, which is weird because it didn't look like that much blood was dripping on her. It looked
I
like there's
agree.
way more on her than there was on the ground. So I'm confused. At first I thought she was bleeding and I was like, uh-oh,
Right.
but she's washing her face in the water. Which is a really bad idea, Donna.
Well, she doesn't know that.
She and the cameraman discover a dead body with its mouth really wide open and the tongue ripped out. I guess that's why she freaks out and runs around in circles. Is that it?
No, we got a jump scare.
Was it an isopod jumping out?
I believe his eye like moves or something, or like opens.
Okay. I couldn't be bothered to back it up and find out.
It's
but-
super fast. You wouldn't notice unless you were like really focused on it. But yeah, it doesn't matter.
And then she literally runs in circles. And then
Oh,
present day
it looks
Donna.
so silly.
It's
Because it's like a shot of like a surveillance camera from up above, and she just, oh my God, it looks like a Scooby-Doo episode or something. They're just like booking it out of there. And apparently the cameraman just keeps shooting too. This guy's like hauling ass and decides to keep recording. I don't quite know why.
Yeah.
But
What a trooper.
yeah, seriously.
But present day Donna like makes fun of herself.
Yeah.
And then she says that is the last thing that she filmed. Now is when Alex and Stephanie arrive. Remember them?
Yes.
They have docked their boat and they're like walking up, the pier, whatever it is. And they continue like commenting about how the marina is a ghost town. And Stephanie is like, concerned, which is reasonable. Alex is just like making fun of the town for like being dead and like a party
being
poop in
lame.
town. Like, doesn't look like the 4th of July. What do you
Right.
think, Alex? Like, how did you two ever get together? I don't get it. So Alex is a jerk. Stephanie correctly wants to book it out of there and get back on the boat, like even if there's no gas. But Alex is shooting, film. He wants to get the footage, I
Right.
guess. So before anything else happens, we have more oceanographer footage. So this is a flashback of a flashback, because now in the movie we know that we've got to the point that they were dead in the flashback timeline. So this is even before that. So this is some footage that they recorded talking about the steroids.
Yes.
It's the steroids and the chicken shit. Ah. So it's isopods on steroids plus nuclear radiation. That's how we get the monster. Okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm convinced.
So one thing I do like about this movie is that they did use like a real species of isopod that does bite the tongue of the fish and then makes the fish like a zombie fish. And then, I think the steroid / nuclear thing is a good enough explanation for the audience for this film, Like, I'm good with that.
Me too.
But the isopods are like now giant and like taking out people's tongues. I'm a little unclear. Is it parasites from the isopod? Is the isopod the parasite? Is there actually any bacteria involved, or is that like not a theory anymore?
I thought the isopods were the bacteria, but
This movie
they're
is
the
so chaotic.
parasites.
It's like all over the place, and you have to put together what people are saying, and half of what people are saying is wrong.
Right.
So I'm still not totally sure about all the sciencey stuff. But at this point, the sheriff picks up the mayor and they go driving around to check out the situation.
Yes.
They just happen to arrive at that house where the 2 cops went inside and shit went down. As they're preparing to investigate, Deputy Jim comes out of the house and he's in a bad way.
Yeah.
He tries really hard to tell the sheriff and the mayor to go away, to his credit. Sheriff gets out of the car. That's a mistake. Because he's like carrying a gun, I mean, Deputy Jim is carrying a gun and not like in a police way.
Yeah.
And the sheriff like just tries to coax him into the car. He's really, being nice. And then Jim shoots him, which is sad. And then Jim shoots himself.
Yeah.
The mayor is all like shocked Pikachu face.
Yeah.
How could this happen in my quaint town where I'm, up so many points ahead in re-election?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we see the dead body of Miss Crustacean. I mean, that she had to come back at some point.
Oh my God. This might have been the saddest part of the movie for me.
She's like literally in the gutter.
Oh, so sad.
Crustacean. I know. So Stephanie and Alex have arrived to some establishment where they are making a video call. Do we know who that's to?
I think it's someone's brother,
maybe her brother.
Yeah.
They call him Jimmy, I think.
The dude's just kind of he's kind of a useless asshole.
He's just there because if he's on the call, then they can get footage from his side.
Exactly.
He's not there.
He's a plot device.
Yeah, exactly. And they really take a lot of liberty with what footage he could possibly be getting when we see some action. But anyway, so they make this call to like beg the person, the brother, I guess, to help them somehow. The person is like really slow to like catch on or understand there's an urgent situation.
He thinks they're joking and all this, and they go through that rigmarole.
We have to go that again,
like, I know. It's like, come on.
And then the person, the brother or whatever, says, "Hey, Alex, what's that on your neck?" And Alex has the blisters. I guess at this point that was going to be the end of Alex and Stephanie. But we'll see.
Yeah.
No spoilers.
Nope.
Okay. So Dr. Abrams is making what sounds like his final recording. It's like in Star Trek when like the shuttle is just like in disrepair and Enterprise doesn't know where they are. And it's like, last captain's log.
I'll take your word on that.
Sorry. I mean, I got started on Star Trek in this episode, and that's just probably a bad idea.
No, I love it. That's great.
Gonna mash together. In
Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
The CDC is no longer taking Dr. Abrams' calls. How rude. But he says this is not a virus. It's an organism, which we already know. The blistering is a symptom, which we already know. It's the isopod. Aha. The isopods are eating them from the inside out. That's what's happening.
Yes.
As if we didn't know from the guy with the distended belly,
Yep.
But anyway, how do they get inside the people and get so freaking large? Like even with steroids, how do they grow so fast? Is it the nuclear radiation?
And the steroids.
Sure. Okay. Just,
come on, it's science.
Dr. Abrams then shows that he's got the rash on his belly.
Yeah.
He's gonna die.
Aww.
Rest in peace, Dr. Abrams. Then, is that Mr. Mayor John Stockman driving the police car with the siren on? It is.
Sure is.
And he gets T-boned by another car. No one can save him because there's no emergency services left.
Oh, I loved this part. This is so good. That was like a nice little touch of humor, kind of, I feel like. His own demise.
Yeah, that is kind of a satisfying end to him, but at the same time, now he can't be brought to justice. And I really wanted that to happen.
Yeah.
For Donna, if nobody else.
Of course, yeah.
Next, we witness the end of Alex, who is vomiting his guts out and begging for death as their video call partner looks on with a straight face.
Yeah.
And then the next thing we see is Stephanie walking out of the building with her baby carrier. Oh my God, the entire time I forgot that she still had a baby.
Yeah. Did she kill her husband? She like kind of goes up to him. I feel like she like stabs him or something.
I think like he gave her a knife or something and he was begging her to, and she's like, no, I can't. But I don't know if she ever did. I guess she
Okay.
did.
Yeah.
I guess.
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, judging about what happens next, like she's pretty badass. She pulls the
Yeah.
body out of a driver's side of a police car. She's like a pro, and then she loads her baby into the other side and then jump scare. There's an isopod ridden woman attacking Stephanie like a zombie. What the
I
fuck?
don't understand this at all. And the whole movie, I kept looking at every character thinking that this was kind of a zombie movie. Like, I know it's not, but every single scene, I'm like, that person's going to come up to that person and like bite them, but they're not zombies. But then this scene, this woman acts like a straight up zombie. It doesn't make any sense.
Straight up zombie. Also, backseat monster, such a trope.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, what is this? Do we really need a scare? Is it that beat in the movie? I mean, like
she was just laying in the back
right
of this car and just all of a sudden needed help so frantically that she just like freaked out. Like, I don't know.
What bothers me is I always look in the back seat of my car.
Do you?
Who gets in and doesn't like check out the situation?
Yeah, I don't, but
I guess people who don't watch enough of these movies.
Yeah.
I know, right?
I will now.
During Stephanie's entire scene, we have like a voiceover thing going on, and also some like some footage of this conversation. There's some government official, I forget who he is. He's talking to one of the CDC guys, I think, and the official is telling them to shut down the story, and they kind of argue about that. And then we're back to present day Donna, and we hear kind of how things wrap up. She reports that the National Guard arrived, quarantined the whole town for 3 days, like you said, and they confiscated any cameras they could find. Is that a normal thing that a branch of our military would do?
Maybe under some kind of circumstance.
I mean, because military people control the military, and I don't think they would let. I don't know. Okay, I'll buy it for this story. I guess.
For sure.
The interesting thing is isopods and probably everything else in the bay was killed basically by chlorinating the bay. It's a great idea. Yeah. And the town made some kind of financial deal with the federal government as part of the huge cover-up. So here's where I want to say, I do not find cover-up stories like this believable at all because of how many people are involved. It's like,
it doesn't make sense. It only takes one. That's the problem. It has to be airtight to actually have this be successful.
And it can't be with something like this. Plus, people have already communicated. It's already gotten out.
Yeah.
Donna knows about it. The whole CDC, everyone in that room.
Yes.
But part of it is kind of like, I know why they put it in the movie, because people actually believe these things happen.
Right.
But it irritates me though when they do put something like this in a movie, because it just contributes to the issue. Like people who don't believe in the moon landing, and they're making a movie about that.
Oh,
anyway,
geez.
Yeah, people are going to talk. You're never going to shut down something like that. No. And there's already been like Jennifer's FaceTime calls. Plus, like, you're no whistleblowers from the CDC. I don't believe that. Right. They're not going to keep quiet. No. And why didn't anybody believe Donna for 3 years?
Good question. I don't know.
People like to believe these stories. Like, they should have believed her, but also maybe she didn't want to talk about it.
Right. That's the impression I got.
We hear that Stephanie survived because present day Donna comments that Stephanie didn't want to participate. Well, that's fine, I guess. Then we get a statistic or a fact that says the Chesapeake Bay remains 40% lifeless. Wait, it was 40% lifeless before. How could it now be 60% life full if they chlorinated the fuck out of it enough to kill the isopods? Maybe they ran out of budget for their scientific consultant by that point. Anyway, like, okay, here's the thing for me. I think we've talked about this before, but probably not on the podcast. Like, I know the environment is fucked. The planet is dying. We poisoned the oceans. This is all true. Yep. Climate crisis is like my number one real life fear.
Sure.
I think probably everyone in our generation can relate to that, and younger.
Yeah.
And I want to do everything I can to help with that. But when it comes to horror movies, horror movies are my fun, happy thing. And I don't like when my fun, happy thing intersects with the biggest current event bummer of my entire lifetime. Like, I appreciate the message of this movie, but it is like just 100% not for me. How did you feel about that, Bill?
About that theme in general?
Yeah. Message of the movie, that kind of thing.
Well, I would say I don't mind it. I actually kind of like government cover up in horror movies simply
Do
because
you?
simply because it's so silly.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, like this whole movie is rather silly in my mind. Like it's not portraying something that they're saying is true I don't know. It comes off as so silly that it's entertaining for me. I can like separate it from the actual things that are happening in the world. If it was done a little more like truthfully, that would freak me out a little more. But to me, I actually don't mind it. I find it kind of entertaining. It's almost like if you were to listen to like right-wing radio, like it's parts of it are kind of entertaining, but then it's kind of depressing too, because you're like, oh God, people think like this. But what they're saying is almost entertaining because it's so ridiculous.
You nailed that.
What did you think about like, I mean, this is such like a kind of a cliche thing to talk about, but with having gone through COVID, I wonder if I would have seen this movie prior to COVID, I wonder if I would have looked at it differently, because it's this idea of viewing something that's just a part of your life you don't think about, like air or water.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it becomes the big bad boogeyman. Like in this movie, one of the really effective things is after you kind of understand that it's a waterborne bacteria or whatever organism, they start to show shots of like, kids in, baby pools, and like hoses, drinking from hoses and all this stuff. And that was super effective for me. Like just showing that footage, knowing what we know and knowing what's going to happen to them. I feel like you could do the same thing for like a COVID type movie, where it's like,
oh, I do not want to see a COVID movie.
But it's that same idea where there was a period of time where everyone thought it was transmitted by touch, so they were wiping down groceries and stuff. And then all of a sudden you find out that it's airborne. So it's like, it's just the big bad boogeyman being something that's necessary for life, like water or air. That to me is a very interesting horror topic, I think.
I do not wipe down my groceries anymore, but I do immediately wash my hands after I unpack them, or after I like open an Amazon package or any delivery. Like,
I mean, I think that's a good thing to do.
It's going to be a habit forever. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, no harm in that. But this movie reminded me a lot. Did you ever see The Crazies, the remake?
No.
Okay. No. This reminds me a lot of that. It's another kind of a government cover up. Something hits a town, a small town, very similar to this. Not a found footage movie, but you should check it out if well, I guess you don't really like government cover up things, but it's a good movie. I haven't seen the original. The original is supposed to be good too, but anyway.
I could appreciate a really old government cover up movie, like black and white. That might be fun because it just meant something so different back then.
True. It has changed quite a bit. So do you think they got the ending right?
I think they set themselves up for like an impossible correct ending, because we know from the outset that there's a government cover up. So the ending is going to be sort of quiet because they hush it all down. And as I mentioned, I find that story hard to buy. Like, so how does it end? I feel like the only reason they spared Stephanie her life was because she had a baby. Nobody wanted to see a helpless baby die after the mom died,
Yeah.
But she really should have died. Sorry. And I think like for a proper ending, Donna would have been the only survivor. And then she would have been like, I seen some shit. And everyone would be like, you're crazy.
I think they could have painted Donna as a little crazier in the present day. So to actually like have people not believe her. Because I mean, she seemed pretty coherent, like she just seemed, and she even said at the beginning, she actually had a hard time talking about it. Like it still affected her. I think she was like, so.
Yeah, I was making fun of that, wasn't I?
Yeah, that's okay.
It's not a great movie, so I can't really like invent a great ending for it. But what do you think?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I would even. Yeah,
it's a nothing burger. That's what I want.
It's a nothing burger. I mean, the only thing you could have done is just like had the FBI or whoever come in and just like burn the entire town.
Everything. Yes, that would have been exciting.
That would have been kind of intro. And then you have Donna like crawling out of the fire, and like she, I don't know, set it
You
up for a
know, though,
sequel.
if they spent the budget on what they had already done, I don't think there's money left over for like a blowtorch scene.
No,
You
it's
know,
only a $2 million budget. I mean,
right?
that's yeah.
They don't have any money to burn. See what
No,
I did there?
that was good. I like that.
Thanks.
Did you find any alternate endings?
I did not find anything about, found
Yeah.
footage. They're
Yeah.
gonna make the ending they make, I think. I can tell you like the things that I did like about the movie.
Are we getting to the ratings?
We could do that. But anyway, I made a list of like nice things because
Okay.
you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I had so much other stuff to say,
Sure.
so I had to come up with some nice stuff.
Okay, I did the same thing.
I like that they use practical effects whenever possible. I really like practical effects. I like the scientific explanation of the isopod's existence. Like I mentioned, I thought it was like surprisingly viable for like this kind of bomb kind of movie.
Sure.
I liked Donna's character all right, even though she annoyed me a few times. Jennifer was the best character though. Poor brave Jennifer.
Yes.
At her anachronistic phone app. So it's not like absolutely terrible. It's not the worst. I can think of so many worse movies. I think I have seen the worst movie ever made, and I don't think I can ever talk about it.
Ooh.
So I guess I would give it a 2. What about you, Bill?
Interesting. Yeah. So, coming from someone who is not a fan of found footage films, I thought this film actually succeeded in a few areas. The setting and the footage of the 4th of July celebrations, like I said earlier, was very believable, very quaint. I enjoyed that. I like how they kind of cut back to it throughout the movie to kind of show you, the escalating mayhem. And they captured the vibe of a small coastal town really well. And what I really liked is the way they moved through like dozens of different found footage framing devices. They did it fairly well. One thing that drives me crazy when I think of found footage films, I think of like a single framing device, like Paranormal Activity. Most of it is surveillance cameras of the house, and it's just and you get a little bit of handheld stuff, but like it gets very monotonous and very boring to me very quickly, and I just lose interest. So this one, I mean, there's probably 24 framing devices throughout this film, and I thought that was really neat. And what I really liked, even in a single scene, they would have like multiple camera angles because multiple people would be filming, which was kind of cool because it almost looked like a video game. So I thought that was a very creative way of doing that. And by constantly switching between like, video journals, reporter footage, Zoom calls, it kept the momentum going for me. And it also highlighted like the escalating mayhem. It was a good device for that, I thought. And then, though a little heavy-handed, I liked the theme of the government cover-ups and how all the authorities kind of had their own agenda. I know you're not as big a fan of that, but like the mayor had his reasons for wanting to keep people, let's not spread rumors. And I get that. It kind of makes sense at a certain point. Obviously, at some point, you have to kind of, just go with the science. But and the CDC had their agenda. All the agencies had their agenda. Now, on the negatives, I found the main character, Donna, to be rather forgettable, not very compelling. I did not like her as the story device of this movie. I don't know if it was the actress or the writing necessarily. Like if you would put like a Parker Posey or someone in there, like maybe it could have been better. I don't know. Overall, I felt like they took kind of a mediocre idea and stretched it like as far as they possibly could. And this movie's less than 90 minutes, yet I still think it felt a little bloated at times.
It did,
so
yeah.
There's just not enough material to make like a feature film out of this in my mind. So
they needed you to like tighten up the editing, I feel.
Maybe it would be like a 10-minute movie. Anyway, I agree. I actually give this 2 out of 5 screams as well.
Wow. Is this our first like tie? I mean,
our agreement, I believe it would be.
Agreement.
Yes.
Where do we go from here?
I don't know. Well, I have to ask you this. So you said you're also not a fan of like found footage films, right? Generally.
So, I liked, like Blair Witch the first time I ever saw it. I didn't really know anything about the hype around it.
Okay.
I was like, this is a decently scary movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, I didn't see Paranormal Activity because I wasn't interested in that concept at that time. Like until much, much later. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna check this out. And I thought, oh, the first one is cool. And then all the sequels were just like, let's make money off this idea that's really cheap to do, you know? Everyone else seems like a copycat.
Oh, absolutely. Did this like elevate your perception of found footage, or did it just was this kind of what you expected for a found footage, I guess? Like within that specific genre.
Yeah, how they used the found footage and like the diversity of sources and things like impressed me more than I thought it would, like from just the quick synopsis.
Right.
And I'm kind of proud of myself because normally I'm like, I do not watch eco horror, but I had to challenge myself to do it for the podcast.
Yeah.
I got through it. I'm still, I don't feel like I need therapy tomorrow or anything.
Oh, good.
So yeah, we can we can wrap things on a positive note, unless you have more dark facts.
No, I got no more dark facts, unfortunately. Right. We'll leave on a positive note. So, as we said, this is our first entry of this series, and our next movie that we'll be covering on our next show will be Club Dread, which is I believe this is a horror comedy from the, I'm going to mess this up. It is the guys that did Beer Fest and Super Troopers. I should probably know the name of their comedy troupe. But anyway, we will be covering that on our next show. Super excited about that because I know nothing about that movie. And hopefully it'll be good. So that's all I got. So please like and subscribe us on all of our social medias. And until next time, stay scary.
See ya.